Dragon's Dogma 2 just got a ton of developer updates, including when the embargo actually drops, as well as the global release times. We have a brand new leak on a potential DLC already, as well as some of the other updates happening with Dragon's Dogma 2, and a whole bunch more. What's up world, it's Utopia back in with another video, and today we're checking out all things Dragon's Dogma 2. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Let's jump into those global release times that we're seeing that they just got launched today. Now as you see here, the Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam actually do have different global launch times. Now this mostly pertains to PC versus the console, where on Steam these are designated to specific times. So for Eastern time, this will be at 8 p.m. EDT or EST, which is 7 p.m. CST and 5 p.m. PST. Again, this is for the Steam time, so everybody's going to be at the same time when launching this game. However, for Xbox and the consoles, these are going to be designated to their local time zones at midnight. Again, typical for a global release or a global schedule for those console and physical copies. However, weirdly enough, Los Angeles does have a different time than everyone else. So it seems like PST is actually going to be getting the game an hour earlier, or on that March 21st. So if you are in Los Angeles or in the PST area, you could expect the game actually on March 21st at 11 p.m. So you won't have to wait till midnight. It looks like maybe even to launch the digital copy, or maybe the physical copies are being sold at that time. Now, as always, it seems like the Xbox trick is going to be in play here. For PlayStation, it is a bit harder. I do believe you have to actually purchase the game through a New Zealand account. However, with an Xbox or Microsoft console, you can actually just change your location to New Zealand, and this will allow you to play the game quite early. It's been like this for pretty much every major solo or single player release. Even though there is an online component to this game, it's not as server-sided or as matchmaking-sided as some other games, which typically don't turn the servers on until a few hours before the game's launch. So seemingly you will be able to play this game somewhat early or significantly early in New Zealand. Or if you actually do change your location to New Zealand, again, that trick works for both the consoles and not on Steam, especially since this isn't a Windows release title. It sometimes works on PC if it is a Windows or Microsoft title. However, since it's Steam only, that is not going to be the case here. We also do have the notion of the embargo drop date and when those reviews are going to be coming out, when we'll see them. So it looks like the embargo actually does drop tomorrow. Now, we do have two confirmations here on when the embargo will possibly drop. This one is from a German games journalist who confirms that the reviews are up on Wednesday, which is pretty good because it is a day or two before the game's release. And for reference, Elden Ring and SF6 had 2 days before the release dates for the embargo drop. So it does show that they're pretty confident in the game if they allow at least 2 days before that embargo release date, which is around that 2 days before the actual game releases, so it looks like they're pretty confident in this game's review scores. This should also drum up additional hype for the game, so we'll have to wait and see on those review scores, but if they're pretty confident with the embargo date, then it looks like it will drum up further hype for the game. Now, we do also have that potential DLC leak, where we have a ton of these dates pretty accurate in lining up so far, especially with Dragon Dogma 2 release date. However, the DLC would release on November 29th, 2024, which would be called Dragon's Princess. Now, so far people are saying that this confidential document is kind of fake. However, someone said here there's no mention of Mega Man from Capcom, so it could be true. As well as these dates just lining up too perfect. However, it did come out after a lot of this stuff. Not a lot of people are super excited if this means we get a new DLC in the 2024 era instead of going to 2025, meaning that they're probably already working on DLC for Dragon's Dogma 2, which in comparison to Elden Ring is a lot sooner, when that one is taking nearly 2 years. Again, we'll have to wait and see if this leak does come to fruition with everything. However, there's a lot of pushback on this document and new leak, as the confidential in the middle doesn't really make sense when they're usually scattered across the image. There's a lot of weird stuff about this image. However, it seems pretty accurate as far as the dates go. There are some weird things like Resident Evil X, which should realistically be Resident Evil 9. However, some of this stuff looks pretty good and looks fairly accurate for the logos. Again, if this is a real leak, this is a pretty big leak overall, and it will be cool to see DLC for Dragon's Dogma 2 already in 2024. Now, pertaining to those launch dates and the embargo date, as well as the global release times, it does look like people have been able to pre-download or preload Dragon's Dogma 2 on their consoles. Again, this does look like it's PlayStation so far. I'm not sure if Xbox has the preload as well. So far, a lot of people are hoping that Steam does get a preload, but it doesn't look like it might hit until tomorrow. At least we do get a pre-download, as a lot of these games recently on Steam have not gotten a preload. Looks like the full size of the game is 64.3 gigabytes on a PlayStation. Again, we'll probably mirror the same on an Xbox as well. although with Steam we might see a higher pre-download or a higher download for 4K textures, as well as just higher texture resolution. Again, it's good to see that we're seeing a preload and pre-download so early. Just hope it comes to PC as well. So if you haven't already, check your consoles, check the Xbox. Let me know if Xbox has gotten their preload. I haven't seen any comments about it just for PlayStation. And I am super curious if Xbox is getting that preload, as we do have that New Zealand trick happening, so people will be playing this game significantly early. Now, as we did with BG3, we have a lot of wiki stuff going on in the battle of the wikis. So we have a specific person who makes wikis and kind of embeds their streams into them, and it's kind of forbidden or at least frowned upon. So recently we have had the community come together and wanting to put together a new wiki. There's a mod tag here over on the subreddit that says Dragon's Dogma 2 information needed. So it looks like they're going to put together as a community a new wiki so that we don't have to deal with the one that has that view botter, or at least the one that's putting their in-streams, embedding them into them. Again, this happened with BG3 and a few other games, and this was kind of went back and forth with a lot of people. I actually got attacked with that video because I made a little defense on why we should be supporting the community wiki over the one that embeds their streams. Again, I'm no longer going to name this person or even show off what they're doing. However, a lot of people did come to my defense after a lot of new information came out, especially when Twitch started to remove the embedding and the embedded viewership. It looks like they're already putting together the wiki, so we'll see when that comes to fruition, and I'll let you guys know on the new wiki and that new site. And again, they're just looking for information on people to provide anything in-game, whether it's consumables, weapons, armors, enemies, quests, vocations, skills, and anything else. They obviously want screenshots if you have those already, and they are accepting information now, so if you have a copy of the game right now, they are taking that information. Again, it seems like they just want to get this thing up and running as quick as possible. We also got some brand new info on the Dragon's Plague that just dropped, which is a mysterious illness that can only be contracted by pawns. And unlike other deliberations, it is not recorded in the pawn status. Its afflicted pawns remains entirely unaware of their condition, and there will be no obvious differences in their behavior. All that is known of this effect is that the illness can result in devastating calamity. It's also contagious and can pass between different pawns traveling together in the same party, and there are only 2 known ways to cure Dragon's Plague. The afflicted pawn must either become forfeit or infect another pawn, passing the illness onto them. This seems pretty devastating. We'll have to see how this all works out in game. Someone mentioned here that the creator pawns are going to be the ones that start with them, and people that hire them will then contract them. That's just speculation. We'll have to wait and see on where this actually stems from and who Patient Zero is. Still a pretty cool mechanic in game that we'll have to wait and see on how that all works out. We also do have the Japanese magazine alternative cover poster for DD2, which actually looks really cool, and I wish they would have used this in America. And yeah, the comparison into the Western one isn't a ton different. However, I actually do like the Japanese one overall a lot better. Again, we'll have to wait and see on everything if they do eventually use any of this stuff or any of the things from the previous notions. Especially that DLC leak, we'll have to wait and see on all that. I'll try to be covering Dragon's Dogma 2 as much as possible, so if you are wanting to see new information and brand new stuff, I will be covering that over the next few weeks, as well as maybe even some potential guides, as well as what character to pick and why. Overall, though, that should about cover for today's video. If you like and subscribe, and until next, deuces.